in Ayin Aleph Amid Base 71b at the top, second line. Yom Tov Yisrael made a great celebration for his friends when the Kohen Gadol would come home safely. So it was a great celebration. People would walk him home. Tanaban. So the Raisa taught there is a story with the Kohen Gadol who came out of this Mikdash, and everybody was accompanying him and walking behind him. Once they saw Shmai and Avtalion, who were the great leaders and teachers of the academy, and so they left the Kohen Gadol and followed Shmai and Avtalion. And started following Shmai and Avtalion. So if at the end, also Shmai and Avtalion lived to remain the Kohen Gadol. But as people, right? So there were two groups of celebrities. There was the Kohen Gadol and the Shmai and Avtalion. And when they came to say bye to the Kohen Gadol, the leaders of the academy, Shmai and Avtalion, Amar and he said to them, Yaisun b'nei amamin l'shlam. Let the people of the nations of the world come in peace.
Thank you.
Thank you for wanting to bring it. So Shmai and Avtalion were converts. And so they were of the descendants of Sancheriv, who is a Syrian ruler. So the Kohen Gadol, to belittle them because he was upset that the people had flocked to them, said, "Oh, greetings and peace upon you, people of the nations of the world," calling them foreigners, calling them converts. Amru lei Yaisim b'nei Amamin the Avdin Uvda the Arab. He said, "Yes, indeed, peace shall come upon people from the nations of the world who do the work of Aaron, who was a lover of peace and bring people up and elevate them. But no peace upon the son of Aaron, who does not do the work of Aaron, bringing peace." He tried to insult them by saying, "Oh, you converts, the people from the nations of the world, welcome." And they said, "At least we may come from another nation, but we follow the teachings of Aaron of bringing peace and elevating people, something that you still have to learn." The Mishnah is now going to go into the garments of the Kohen Gadol in general, and not just the four for Yom Kippur, but for every day. Kohen Gadol mishamish b'shmoneke. The Kohen Gadol would typically on every day, and for the 3 times, 3 parts on Yom Kippur, he wears 8 garments. The Ahedyid and the minor Kohen ba'arba, and he wears 4. So what are the 4? A shirt, pants, a turban, and a belt, and a sash. The Kohen Gadol has, in addition to that, choshen, the breastplate, the ephod, and some sort of a wraparound, whether it was a vest or a apron of some sort. Ume'il, and like a poncho, an overcoat. Utzitz, and the golden plate with Hashem's name on it, that's worn on the forehead. So those are the 8 pieces that the Kohen Gadol wears. Be'elu nishalim v'urim v'turim. The requests, the Kohen would ask a question to get an answer from Hashem. This was with the Urim and Tumim in the Choshen, the Urim and Tumim, which were literally the illumination and the statement, the complete words. There's still Gemara about that. when he's wearing these 8, that's when he can ask the Urim Tumim. The Ein Mishalah. And you cannot ask of the Urim Tumim Elul Melech, only on behalf of the king, Ula Basin on behalf of the Basin, and the version we have is Lamisha Tzarech or anybody that the community is in need of, and the other text of the Mishnah is a little Basin, the Basin itself, not just the outfit. Tanarabba. So the Brisa taught, and we're going to now learn what the type of threads used for the garments. So we know that the garments were either made of linen, sheish, or they were made of different colored wools. We have blue wool, red wool, purple wool, and some had. And there's the inclusion of gold, which would be a golden thread, and each one of the threads would have been made of a twist or a twine of multiple threads. So you would have a thread, and then they would make a thicker thread by winding that with other threads. So how many threads in the thread? Right, how many threads in the yarn?
Twining.
Twine, yeah. So
It's a thread analysis.
Taner Abana. Dvarim shenema behem sheish. Anytime it says sheish, which means linen, so it would say chutan kafel shisha. Their threads are 6 ply. Mashzar, where the Torah calls it mashzar, shmona. So then it would be 8 ply. Me'il, where the Torah says the me'il, the overcoat, shnei masar, 12 ply. Poroches, the curtain, esrim va'arba, 24 ply. Choshen ve'ephod, esrim v'shmona. And for the choshen and the ephod, it was 28 ply. So no. Chuta kafel shisha menola. How do we know that when it's just a thread of sheish, of linen, it's a 6 ply? The Amakra, the pasuk says, and this is in Shemos Lamed test, 39 chapter. Shemos, 2 psukim subsequent to each other. Chav Zayin and Chav Ches. Vayasu es aksoine sheish, and they will make the shirt of linen, woven for Aaron and his children. And then it says in the next pasuk, "Ves mitznefesh sheish," and the turban of linen, and "Ves pari mitbayis sheish," and the mitbayis, which is the turban for the minor cow, regular cow. "Ves michnas abad sheish," and the trousers, the pants made of sheish, of linen. Now, much are twined together. Hamisha kroiksi. It says 5 times made of linen, because it also says bad linen. So what does it have to say linen? It could have just said the list and of linen, or it could have said, and these are the garments of linen and list. Why did they have to say, and the shirt of linen, and the trousers of linen, and the turban of linen, and the tall turban of linen? All unnecessary. So there are 5 times it mentions linen for a teaching like this. Chad legufe. One is to tell you that it means linen. The kitna now that it should be of linen. And another is to tell you that the term sheish for linen is also there to tell you that it's sheish 6, that it's a 6 ply. And one is to tell you that it has to be twined, twisted. And one to tell you that not only the garments mentioned here, but other garments as well, are, as we'll see later in the Gemara, are also going to be made of linen. Ones that it does not say specifically linen, to tell you that it needs to be linen. And the 5th one of them, anytime that we have something in the Beis Hamikdash, we saw this many times now already, that if the Torah repeats it, If it's not done that way, it's going to be invalid. So here it's repeated to tell you that it's going to be invalid. Now the Gemara asked, "Me'ei mashma dai sheish kitnu." From where do you know that the word sheish means linen? Amar Rav Yezer Rav Chanina Damar Krova, because it says in the pasuk bad. It says bad. Now bad in modern Hebrew means material, but really the word bad is related to the word levad, alone. So there are different things that can source your material, that can source the fabric. Over here, we're talking about bad, dobra ilam in akarka, something grows from the ground, bad, just individual stalks, as opposed to growing in trees. It grows as individual stalks. So what is that? That's linen, because linen grows as the flax reed, like basically a stick. And even though there's little flowers coming out of it, but the flowers are basically just a stem and leaf, not anything else. And so it means linen. Tosis asks, well, why don't we say that it means the cannabis or the hemp stick, which also grows as like a bamboo, it looks almost like a bamboo shoot, yeah. And Tosis has one opinion that says that indeed, based on that, hemp would also be considered linen and prohibited in shatnez. Tosis rejects that, and that's not the halacha. It says that just throughout the Torah, we only see linen and wool as the means for clothing, and so cannabis is not does not count. Hemp does not count as it's just not mentioned in the Torah. So that's not what the Torah means. So when the Torah says bad, even though it grows similar to linen, it's not included in the prohibition, and also cannot of shatnez, nor can it be part of the mitzvah of the clothing of the Kohen. But the Gemara is saying, from the fact that it calls it bad, which means that it grows as an individual stalk, that tells us that it's not wool, which is all intertwined. The Ema Imra. So Gemara says, wait, maybe it is wool. Imra iftzuli miftzal. No, that splits. Kitna nami iftzuli miftzal. Well, linen also, after the fibers, after you break down the flax and turn it into fibers for the linen, it also splits. He says, yeah, kitna agav likusa. That's only after you hit it. The linen will split. So the first teaching is that it says that we know that it's linen on account of that. The Torah calls it bad, and bad means alone, individual stalks. Ravina Amamehacha. However, Ravina says no. Actually, we know it from here. In Yecheskel, it says that when he describes the Kahanim, that they were wearing adornments of pe'er, which is basically the hats of linen, and pants of linen. Pe'eri pishtim yal rosham, linen turbans on their head, umichas pishtim yal misneim, and trousers of linen on their waist. So we see from Yecheskel that it's linen. Amalei Ravashi. So Ravashi says back to Ravina, and before Yecheskel came around, who taught us that it means linen? So you said to him, I don't understand. Based on what you're asking, we have another teaching from Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda said, this thing, you don't find it in the teachings of Moshe Rabbeinu, in the Torah of Moshe. We learned it from the prophet Yecheskel ben Buzi. Kol ben Nechar, anybody who has made himself foreign to God, whether whether by hardening his own heart, or whether he never had a bris, or whether somebody left Torah, abandoned Torah for another religion or another faith, or somebody who is not circumcised, lo yovel mikdash, may not come into the mikdash of Hashem to the Beis Hamikdash. That teaching we have from Yechezkel. Great. Who said it to us? Who taught that to us before Yechezkel came around? Ella. So what are you going to respond? Gemara Gamiri. We have many things that we have a tradition from Moshe Rabbeinu about specific halachas, even if it's not in the Torah. It's halacha Moshe Messina. Every tefillin in the world is black, and it's a square made of hides of a kosher animal. It's not written anywhere. It's a halacha Moshe Messina, and so too this was halacha Moshe Messina. Va'asa Yechezkel came ahead and wrote down that teaching in the pasuk. Achanami Gemara Mirla. So too over here, we knew that when the Torah said bad and sheish it meant linen, just that Yechezkel put it into pasuk. Okay, so we know sheish means linen, and we know sheish means 6 ply. What about when it says mashzar shmona? That it means an 8 ply. Minolan, how do we know that? Except it says vayasu al shuli aviil rigmoni techeles va'argamon v'talashani mashzar. It says at the foot, at the bottom of the me'il, which was the coat, the poncho, if you would, there were bells and there were pomegranates, woven pomegranates. These pomegranates were made of wool, blue wool, purple wool, red wool, woven mashzar. The aleph mashzar meparachas. And we also know that when it says mashzar, we learn it from the parachas from the curtain. Malahala nesarabba. Just as over there, it means that it was 24 ply. Afkan esarabba, so to over here, it would be 24 ply. The havakol chad v'chad tamni. And if it's 24 ply, and you have 3 types of wool: blue wool, purple wool, red wool. That means by higher mathematics, 24 divided by 3. Yeah, take your fingers, toes, Eric. 24 divided by 3 is 8, meaning each one of these, the purple wool was 8 ply, the blue wool was 8 ply, and the red wool was 8 ply. So it says, why are you comparing the word mashzah to the curtain, to the parachas, and therefore it was 24 ply? Why did you learn it from the choshen, from the breastplate, which was 28 ply? So you'd have to have 28 divided by 3. First of all, the Gemara says, it's not logical, because you know why the breastplate had 28? Because it had golden threads in it. So, but over here, there were no golden threads. It was just blue, purple, and red wool. So it's more logical to compare it to the curtain, which also did not have golden. Whereas the choshen and the ephod, the breastplate, and the ephod, let's call it the apron, they had gold threads in it. Shenema Menzov. Sigmar says no, it's not. Quite the contrary. Adarabba, donin beged mi beged. We'd rather compare a garment from a garment, meaning the pomegranates on the bottom of the me'il from the breastplate, from the choshen, because they're both garments. Rather than learning it lafuki parochas, not to learn it from the curtain, the oihalu, that's just a part of the tent. So Gemara says you're right. Ella donami avli. So we're going to learn it from the belt. V'danim beged v'dover shulanem bezal, which is both a garment and it doesn't say golden. Mi beged v'dover shulanem bezal. So we're going to compare it. It's best compared from a garment that doesn't have gold. Rather than comparing something that doesn't have gold in it, being the garments, the rest of the garments, from the choshen, which has gold. So that's the first reason we're going to compare it. And we're going to say, you know what? It says mushzar here, it says mushzar there, which means twined or twisted. Just as over there, it's 24 ply, so to over here, it's 24 ply. And over there and over here, there's 3 types of wool, 3 colors, which means each one is going to be an 8 ply. Rav Mari says, Te'asenu. It says in the pasuk that all of the garments have to be a weave, and you shall make them. They all have to be made the same way, meaning that you can't have some colors are going to be 8 ply, some are going to be 10 ply, and therefore, so he learns that the fact that it says te'asena, only this has the 8 ply, the 28 ply, meaning the choshen, which has the gold in it. Ravashi Amavasisak. Ravashi says, it says in the pasuk that, and you will make upon the bottom of the coat of the me'il, you will make rimoned techelas hagaman talashem. These pomegranates of blue wool, purple wool, and red wool. Make them; they all have to be made alike. Sheyukalasiyah Shabbos, they all have to be made alike. And how are you going to make them alike? If you have 28 ply, and you're going to try and learn from the 28 ply, you have 3 types of wool: blue wool, purple wool, and red wool. And you're going to learn it and say, okay, so how many ply is each one? And say, you're going to learn it from 28. 28 is not divisible by 3. So either you're going to go with 30, and that's not the same, or you're going to take it down to 28, which means you're going to have one of them, which is going to be a 8 ply dasaras. So now with loss of dasaras, are we going to do 3 of them 10 avalit loss it? So that's 30. No. Now with tray to show, are you going to make 2 of them 9 ply each? One of them 10 ply. Amakrabasisa has to be equal. The Torah says it should all be made alike. So therefore, you can't do a 28 ply. It's not divisible by 3. Must be that we're going to learn it from the 24 ply, which is divisible by 3. Okay, so we have 3 reasons why we're not going to learn it from the ephod, which has a 28 ply. Rather, we learn it from the belt or the me'il, the belt or the parabas, which is a 24 ply, and 24 ply having the wool, the 3 colored wools. So each of the purple wools are an 8 ply, and each of the blue wool are an 8 ply, and each of the red wool are an 8 ply, and then you ply them, and then you twine them together, and now you're going to have a thread or a yarn of 24 ply. Then the Mishnah had further said that me'il shnei, that the coat itself, the overcoat, the blue overcoat, was made of 12 ply. Minolan, how do we know that? The Sivut says ve'isas me'il ha'ephod. It says you will make the overcoat of the ephod of the ephod Kollel techeles completely blue. Now, Kollel completely blue also is for a Kollel for the word gadil, which is a twine, a twist. Which means it is going to be at least 2 threads there. And we learn it from the parabas, malahalan shisha, just like over there it was 6, afkan shisha. So to over here it's 6, and it's 2 ply of those 6 because it says Kollel, like a gadil, a twist. So therefore it's going to be 24. In the parachas, it's 24 divided by 4 because of 4 types of thread, and so that means that it's 6 per plot, per thread, per color. Here it's all blue, and it's Kollel, so it's 6 times 2, which is 12. Manelef Mishula. To say, okay, so we're going to compare it to the curtain and learn that it's 24 ply divided by 6, divided by 4 for each one of the colors. So that means 6 per color. And over here it's all blue, so it's 6 per for the color, and it says that it's doubled, so it's going to be 12. Why don't we learn it from the pomegranates at the bottom? And Mishula, from the bottom of itself, which has the pomegranates in Malahal and Shemaina. Over there, it's 8 ply for each thread. So too, it should be 8 ply for each thread, and double that and make it 16. It says done in kli miklive, done in kli mitashin. No, we want to look a vessel from a vessel, the overcoat from the curtain, and not from an adornment, which is like these little pomegranates at the bottom. The ain done in kli mitashin kli. We're not going to learn a vessel from the adornment of the vessel. The Gemara says, yeah, but we can argue the other way around. Now the Rabbah, quite the contrary. Done in gufa migufa, learn it from itself. They ain't not a gufa mi alma, but don't learn it from something else. So why don't you compare it to itself, to what it is, and it is the pomegranates on the me'il itself. So the Gemara says you're right. That's why we said before that it said 5 times sheish, linen, which also means 6, to tell us that other garments, one of the 5 was to tell us that other garments are also going to be 6 ply. Which other garments? It's the me'il. The me'il, which it doesn't say, and we could learn it from the pomegranates, or we can learn it from the parechas. We're going to learn it from the parechas because we're going to learn that it's 6 ply from the fact that it says sheish an extra time. Shalina sheish, because it didn't say linen by the me'il, by the overcoat, so therefore we learn it from the sheish, the extra sheish. Parechas esava. The curtain had a 24 ply. How do we know that? Right? We were learning from it, but how do we know? So it says Dalit, the Shita. It has 4 times 6 because there are 4 types of colors. Because it was made out of blue wool, purple wool, red wool, and linen. And so that's 4 materials. And each one is a 6 ply. So we have nothing to question about that. The choshen, the breastplate, the ephod, and this vest or the apron. So that was made of 28. We know. How do we know that? The Sifar, it says, but it says you will make the breastplate of justice. My se choshen, a weaving action. Kamase ephod tasenu, and you'll make it similar to the ephod. Zahav, it'll be made of golden thread. Techeles, blue thread. Argaman, purple thread. Talashani, red thread. V'sheish, and linen. Mashtar, twined together. Arba the shita. 4 of them, the blue wool, purple wool, red wool, and linen. Those have 6 ply each. And so you're gonna have a 6 ply of wool of the blue wool, and 6 ply of the red wool, 6 ply of the purple wool, 6 ply of the linen, and that makes and then you're gonna twine those together with 1 gold in each. Eser Arba, so that's 24, and Zav Arba, and there's 4 gold. Eser and with Manya, that's 28. And why 4 gold? Because within each one of the twines of the colors, so you had 6 linen and 1 gold thread in there. 6 purple wool and 1 gold thread in there. 6 red wool and 1 gold thread in there. 6 blue wool and 1 gold thread in there. So it was only 4 gold. The Gemara says, how do you know that? Maybe the gold is also 6. Amar Bar Yaakov Amakra, it says in Pasuk Kitzes Silim. It says in regards to making the gold into threads, it says you're going to thin them out and bang them out, and you're going to cut off threads out of it to put inside the blue wool, and inside the purple wool, and inside the red wool. So to make pasilim, to cut them into a thread. Seal pasilim. Arekan dal. So the first version, the Gemara Rav Yaakov says he learns it from the word pasilim, plural. So it says that's 4. Minimum of psilim is 2, and when you will cut psilim, so cut them into, you will cut them, so that's 4. Well, however, Rav Ashi says Amakral lasses b'tech. It says you will put them into the wool and into the purple wool, the blue wool, and into the purple wool, and into, right? So there's one in each one of those. So you have 4 types, and you're putting the gold in each. So that's only 4. And if you're going to tell me 6, then you're going to have, some of them have 2 wool, 2 gold, and some have 1 gold. And that's not going to be, and that's not correct, because we saw that it all has to be made equal. Hey, now in our ball, the tray, are we going to make 2 golden threads in each one of the 4? The tray, that's it. Now the tray, are we going to do 2 of the colors are going to have 2 gold, tray, the chad, and 2 of the threads, colors, are going to have only 1 gold. That's not right either. But sisa, like we saw before, it has to be equal. So therefore, we know from the pasuk that it says that you will put a gold thread in the blue, and a gold in the purple, and a gold in the red, and the gold in the linen. That means 1 golden thread per each twine. So we have 6 blue wool and one gold, and they're twined together. And the same for the purple, and same for the red, and so the same for the linen. And then those really 7 ply, 4 of the wool and 1 of the gold, are then each one of the colors are then wound together, and that becomes a 28 ply. Amar Rachva Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rachva said in the name of Rabbi Yehuda, anybody who tears a Kohen's garment transgresses a Torah prohibition and gets lashes if he did so intentionally with witnesses. It says it shall not be torn. Now the Gemara, the beginning of that pasuk says that make the lip, the edge, to have a fold in and sewn into itself. So this way it's strong. It will not tear. So the Gemara says, how do you know that it means that you may not tear it? Maybe it means make it strong so that it doesn't tear by chance. Maybe this is what the Torah means. Make an edge to it, so that it doesn't happen to tear. But not that there's a prohibition to tear it if you did. So he said, no, it doesn't say so that it doesn't tear. It does not tear. Similarly, Rabbi Lezer says, somebody who removes the choshen, the breastplate, from the ephod, which we saw a couple of versions of whether it's a vest or an apron. So somebody removes that. Or somebody who takes out the rods from within the aron. Look at, he gets lashes. If he does so intentionally, he transgresses the Torah prohibition. Shenemfer, it says, lo yizach. It says in regards to the choshen, it shall not be removed from the ephod. And in regards to the rods, it says they shall not be removed. Maybe what the Torah means is put it on tightly so that it doesn't by itself get removed. Put it into the rods in so that they don't move. Who tells you that it means that there's a prohibition? Maybe it just means how to make it, how to build it. Again, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Chanina, so the Gemara answers, Miksiv doesn't say Shalei Yiza, so that it doesn't get removed. No, Villa Yiza. It says, and it will not be removed. And is used will not remove. It doesn't say Shalei Yisuru, so that it will not be removed. No, it's not it's so that, but rather Villa, and you will not make it removed. Rabbi Yosef asks a contradiction. It says, "Ksiv v'tabas aron yavad." It says in the rings of the ark of the Aron Kodesh will be these rods, meaning they're always there. Le'yasuru mimenu, it may not be removed. And it says, and then it says, and you will bring the rods into the rings. So how do they how does that work? When it says misparkim in the shmakim, Rashi learns this means it was really tight to get them in, but once they got in, they would not come out unless you force them out. So you have to force them in. They had a thicker edge. Interference fit. Yes, it had interference fit. And so they could slide back and forth because the center was narrow, but the edge had like a bulb at it. It was wider, and so it would squeeze in, but once it's in, unless you purposefully pulled it out, it's not going to get out. That's what Rashi means. Tosfos actually learns there were two sets of rings. One set of rings that had rods that were always in, and one set of rings that were that had rods that would go in and out. So the ones that you would actually carry them with would go in and out, and there were rods attached to it that remained in always. So in any case, indeed we have in the rings of the ark will be these rods. Perhaps you think that they cannot move, they cannot budge. It says no, you will put the rods into the rings. If it's you will put them into the rings, perhaps it goes in and out. So it says that in the rings will be the rods, meaning it remains there. Okay, so how is this? They go in, but they could therefore slide back and forth, but not come out. What is the meaning when it says that when the beams of the base of Mikdash, of the Mishkan, they were made of standing shitim wood? What is standing shitim wood? Of course, if it's a beam, the walls are made of beams, then they were standing. Means that they have to be the way they grew. So you had to have these rectangular beams, but they have to be in the way they grow, upright. Or another interpretation is that they hold the cover. So they were gold plated, but they were not gold plated by painting the gold on, but they were actually plated. There was a gold plate that was screwed on that was attached to the beam. Another interpretation. They are standing. Perhaps you would think the Mishkan, the Mikdash has been destroyed. All hope is lost. No, they are standing. They are standing forever and ever. Rabbi Bachama said, what does it mean when it says in the pasuk is big day asrad l'shared b'kodesh? The sarad garments to serve in holiness. What does the word sarad mean there? Now, the word sarad over there, in simple interpretation, means the service clothing. But it already says l'shared b'kodesh to do the service in holy. Also, the word sarad can mean what remains. So now in Ayin base of the base 72b, so what it tells us, this is what gives the Bnei Yisrael a chance to remain, to stay alive. Not for the service of the Kohanim and their clothing, which allows the service, there'll be nothing left of the enemies of the Jews, and that's euphemism. Anytime the Chazal want to talk about something negative happening to the Jews, it says to the enemy of the Jews. So it means there would be nothing left of Am Yisrael because we would not have the opportunity to connect with Hashem that way. Rabbi Shmuel ben Nachmani Amar Dvei Rabbi Shimon, from the Academy of Rabbi Shimon, he taught Tana begadim shegardin oisen kibrir yasad mikilehet masademen klum. So the garments were made in a way that the weave was woven in a way that it was already a tubular, so it was made as the shirt was woven round and round. It didn't have a seam on the side, so it was woven in a manner that it was tubular, so it had the complete finished garment. As you cut it off from the loom, it was already a garment. Mai, so what does that mean? Rav Shimon ben Lakish Rav Ma'aseh Machal. Rav Shimon ben Lakish says there was the edge would be sewn together. Mesive. So he challenged that. Big Dikuna no Isa Ma'aseh Machal. Ela Ma'aseh Oiri. Wait, but we learned that the garments of the kahuna are not made parts and then sewn together and the edges sewn together, but rather it's made in a single weave. Shenamar, it says, Maisei Orig, they should be done by a weave. Says, of course, you're right. The shirt itself is going to be tubular. It's going to be an actual all-in-one weave. However, the sleeves, those can be attached. So that would be made separately and then attached to the top. Ela Beisiad Shalem. Ketani we learned Beisiad shall be the kahuna ne'aregas b'priatzma, as we learned the sleeves of the Kohen's garments were woven separately, and then were attached to the garment sewn on. Umagaz ad pisas yad, and it reached down all the way to pisas yad, which is the wrist, the movement of the hand. Amarach, we're out of time. As from tomorrow morning, we'll learn about some other parts of the ark